Hey everybody, it's Norm from Tested.
And it's Jeremy from Tested.
Welcome to the latest episode of Projections. Now, we are a month past GDC, the Game Developers Conference.
Feels like yesterday.
I know, but when we were there, we chatted with a bunch of developers, and one of whom was Alex Schwartz from Owlchemy Labs.
Yep.
The makers of?
Well, Job Simulator and now Vacation Simulator.
And this is the first time we got to chat with them and check in with them since they were acquired by Google. And it turns out they're still working on games beyond just Google's own platforms. Their new game is Vacation Simulator, and we had a nice chat with them, so let's hear what they had to say.
So you guys, you have now, you're finally showing Vacation Simulator, right? Tell me where Vacation Simulator sits in what appears to be the Job Simulator universe.
Yeah, I mean, so I think really our entire company and all of our products and all of our decisions are just jokes that have gone too far. So with Job Simulator, it was like, well, what do you do after your job? Clearly you have to vacation. So here we are. And you know, people ask, is it a sequel? Is it like a reskin of what Job Simulator was? And so we found that we came up with this bot universe where, you know, in the future, robots have taken all of our jobs. It's 2050, and now you're just going into a simulator to remember what it was like when humans had those jobs. And so the next thing was, well, in that bot universe, let's start simulating vacations. And that's kind of, it's a totally different genre of game.
Did the robots understand vacation as well as they understood job?
Oh no, they're very confused. Well, yeah, I guess about the level of understanding that they understood jobs. So it's like a quick Wikipedia skim of, yeah, okay, humans went somewhere else to relax, but you know, robots don't really get it. They don't understand the value of taking time off. They just want to, you know, they just want to work, and you know, humans just have this annoying flaws that they have to take some time off, and they're at odds with one another.
Okay, so in the game, like in Job Simulator, I am supposed to be a robot who is experiencing the human life?
You're a human in a simulation.
I'm a human?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and so you saw that if you took like a selfie with the camera, which is a new part of the game, you saw your human form kind of in this simulation, so yes.
Okay, now, but the game itself, Vacation Simulator,
yeah.
It seems like whereas Job Simulator, they had a hub, and I could choose which job I wanted to go to by inserting the cartridges. Now it appears to be more linear, and there's unlockings that happen along the way, or explain the way the game plays out.
So we're showing one 10-minute demo here of an early work in progress of one of the areas, and so we're not kind of zooming out to the level of, well, how would you get to these different areas, and how would you progress through them. We're just kind of like, here's a little snapshot of something fun, and then we're going to reveal a little bit later kind of the overworld structure of, well, what is tying this all together? Is there a long linear narrative that binds it all together? But like, you're starting to see a bit of the progression system where, you know, in the dock shop, you saw that you had some tasks that were gated to let you kind of onto the next part. And so we're really pushing forward on this hybrid of sandbox gameplay where we should never feel like, if I just want to take 2 hours and like work on a sandcastle, that I feel like I'm being punished. But at the same time, we want something that brings you through the game and has a progression and has kind of like a system of accomplishment and progression throughout it. So
it seems like there's also different styles of gameplay, right? Like whereas in Job Simulator, I was always performing tasks that were assigned to me. Yep. While there are tasks assigned, the goals that I'm accomplishing are somewhat different. There's a game where I can throw soccer balls into a goal, and that's a timing game, for instance. And there's another one where I have to capture butterflies, and that's more of a stealth kind of experience. Yeah. And I can choose to quit those and go play another thing anytime I want. Is that part of the goal, is to create new types of play experiences throughout Vacation Sim?
Yeah, I think when we thought of the way that we were building it, we were thinking more adventure game. And so like wrapped in a room scale, physics-based, physical comedy game, you've got mechanics of adventure. So when you say, well, hey, there's side quests and fetch quests and main branch and this and that, we're kind of applying those types of concepts where I'm going around an open world and I wave at a bot and they say, hey, help me out, I want to do this or that. And so you could do it at any pace, and there's a lot that you can do. Or is it, is it advancing the main linear narrative, or is it side questy type things? And so, yeah, I think we've got physical interaction, sports type things, we've got puzzles, we've got lots of different types of ways to interact in the world. And that's actually really cool because as VR developers, when you commit to wanting to make a game, you kind of get stuck working on that for a year, 2 years, and we really wanted to explore so many different things in VR, and our games allow us to essentially be building mini games and side things and exploring all these different mechanics for people who like action and people who like puzzles and people who like logic, and we could throw it all into one game, which is pretty cool for experimentation.
Design-wise, would you say that the design of this game is influenced by your Rick and Morty game, in that there was more depth in some ways to that than there was in JobSim?
I think you can kind of see like a progression from game one where it was, let's build something where we don't need to understand how to locomote in any way, it's just be in your room scale, everything's reachable, everything's great, no real narrative, just fun, throw a stapler at your boss, humor. And then we took Rick and Morty and we added this narrative to it, and we added a little bit of puzzles to gate you through it, and we saw that moving through the garage was actually really compelling, and you could go out through portals into other worlds. And so like, how do you take that and then make a much larger, much more open world using some of those mechanics, and then add this layer of like, I guess it's a progression through every game, but we're seeing like these large open worlds in other big games where I could teleport anywhere. And imagine you're in an open field and you're just teleporting. Every time you teleport, you're in a grassy square, there's nothing to do, now I just teleport again. In Vacation Simulator, what you saw is that every time you move to a new zone, you're in a dense area of interaction where everywhere that I go, it's been built out for specific types of purposes. And so, like on the beach there, you could go over to the water where there's the the sports section. And so there's all these things you could do in every area, and it doesn't feel like a big emptiness. It's densely packed with interactivity.
Right, so you hinted at the movement, the locomotion. It's sort of node-based teleportation, and I assume that that's intentional. Maybe, and I'm curious if it's intentional for the same reason that you had your nodes in the original JobSim, which was you could customize the size of your play spaces based on the play area available to the player that they had defined. Is that the case here too?
Yeah, I think that's a huge point to be made, is that when you take a game that existed and someone built out a big level and then you go, well, I guess I'm gonna, it used to be for controllers and you just hold forward and you just explore the level in arbitrary size. The way to put that into VR would be to slap in some kind of granular teleportation. That's what we call it, is I could point anywhere and I'll go to that exact spot. But the thing that granular teleportation does is it kind of wrecks the player's sense of wanting to move about the space properly. So if I see something on a table and it's only 2 feet in front of me, I get lazy and I just hit teleport and I'll move forward and then I'll grab it, instead of walking forward. And so that's where the fun is to have these room scale environments where I can move and reach and grab and have a whole area that's like built for me. And so instead of trying to take a world from like the old school design method and then tack on a way to move about it, we build the worlds specifically for VR, each individual section, and then we do the scaling method that you're talking about on that, where it's not scaling, it's redesigning at various sizes.
Brute force.
Yeah, it's like hard mode, redesign. It's like those little IKEA setups, and they show you a 720 square foot IKEA room, and it's like, well, we stack this and we put this here. We move them all around based on whether you're in a forward-facing tracking setup, on a 360 setup, on a large 360, a medium 360, a small 360, and so we do all this level design so that when you go in the game, you just boot it up in your living room or wherever you are on your system, and everything's reachable and everything feels fun, and you never feel that experience of like, that thing's just out of reach and I have a wall in the way. And so we're trying to take that concept of like, I have to think I'm in a room thinking I don't have enough space to reach the thing, and that's where like I think interaction disappointment comes about. When you never have to think about that, you can really engulf yourself in what you're doing, which, vacationing and having a good time and doing all these puzzles. And you can stop thinking about limitations because we've taken all the hard work and kind of front-loaded it on our end to make it smooth for the experience.
Well, all of the experiences require motion controllers, as far as I can tell, and it's 6 Degree of Freedom headset. Interestingly, you guys were acquired by Google since we last spoke to you, and Google does not make such a headset. They don't have a headset with 6 Degrees of Freedom or motion controllers. Do you foresee this having support for a more mobile headset, like a Daydream or something like that, eventually?
So we've always thought from the beginning that it's hands in VR that make the magic. we've seen when someone reaches down and picks something up with their hands and is able to throw it, they kind of lose themselves in VR, and when they come out, it's like a life-changing, world-changing experience. And so we set that as our min bar for interaction on everything that we do. And I think with time, a lot of stuff is going to catch up to that kind of 6'd off with 3 points of articulation. And it's just a matter of time and not a matter of like if, because it's a natural mode of interaction. So we've got Vive and PSVR, and we've got Oculus, and we've got Windows MR headsets through Steam. And if 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 more platforms come and hit that spec, we want our content there, because we've always been multi-platform. We never want to really do exclusives. We want a gamer to go, oh, I like Vacation Simulator. I'll get it on all the things that I can get it on. And so that's our bar, and it's been great that Google understands that, like, they align with our vision that it's a long play. They own a game studio that does hand interaction and UX research and all that, and so they're totally open to continuing to work with partners like Oculus and PSVR and Valve and HTC, because like that's how we move VR forward. That's what makes sense, and we just focus where we think. You can't like focus on everything. Like we're doing single player. Like there's a lot of people doing really deep multiplayer, but we focus, I think, on natural interaction, and that's where we want to stay. So hands are always going to be important to us.
Cool. Well, you guys have a great formula. You guys are continuing to refine it. I can't wait to play more of it. How much game would you say there is in this compared to your last games?
Oh man, so we're heavily work in progress on it. It's the first time we're showing it, so we definitely know it's a more ambitious project than anything we've ever done. But in the middle of development, it's really hard to say like how many hours or how big or how many zones or levels or whatever it's going to have. So we're just saying, we've got most of our team on it. We're working really hard, and we're not afraid to cut things. Like that's part of the experimentation and part of the process. Is if it doesn't work, if it's not fun, just get rid of it. We want only the best stuff. So time will tell, and we've also said, hey, it's coming out 2018, maybe, probably. So we're really hard on those commitments, but we're working hard, and the takeaways from this, people are having fun, they're smiling when they come out, and we're happy with the reception there.
Cool. Well, we look forward to playing it more, Alex. Thanks very much.
Thanks.
Well, another group that we got to chat with at GDC is the Against Gravity developers. Now, these are the guys who make Rec Room. Now, only weeks prior to GDC, we did a video where we couldn't get past this quest, this pirate quest, and we said, I really wish we could chat with these guys. Lo and behold, they were going to be at GDC. They reached out to us. So we got to sit down with them and give them a piece of our mind about the difficulty of the pirate quest.
Hey, it's Jeremy from Tested here at GDC, and we're talking to Josh Wordley, game developer at Against Gravity, the developers of Rec Room. Hello, Josh.
Hey, how's it going, Jeremy?
Good to see you. So we're big fans of Rec Room here. I wanted to ask you, like, Rec Room is almost 2 years old, right? Mm-hmm. How has your goals for what Rec Room should be changed over the past 2 years?
Sure. Well, really, it's changed based on the reaction we've gotten from the community. Mm-hmm. Starting out, we didn't really know if anyone wanted to play this sort of, we called it the Wii Sports of VR. And so we were really focused on just getting it out there. Would this kind of, online multiplayer thing even work? Does anyone care? Do people want to play physical games like Dodgeball? And we sort of moved past that now, and we've been really fortunate to have a great community of players who are really engaged with the game and have spent a lot of time and have built relationships with each other in the game. And they've sort of directed where we go from there. And so, we started to move our focus from just like, can we build these initial couple games to can we build some more complicated games? Like we have Paintball. I know you guys really like our quests, and so quests are a relatively recent addition. And now we're even moving further past that into some like user-generated content, because we had a lot of users that were making cool stuff on their own. Like we literally had people on our subreddit showing us all of these crazy dioramas they had made of quest rooms, like literally out of wood. And so
of quests that you had made, or their own ideas? Okay.
It was basically fan art, and so we saw that there was all this sort of like latent enthusiasm and creativity that we thought we could, let people express inside Rec Room. Hence all this user-generated content stuff that we're working on. But really, it's been, do we think anyone will care about this? Oh, they do care about it. How can we, make stuff they're going to really love?
In terms of the effort you guys are putting into the modules, I don't know what you call the different things you can do in Rec Room, but I'm going to call them module. Sure. I feel like the quests get quite a lot of your resources, a lot of your attention.
Sure.
And they've expanded as you've now made 4 of them.
Yeah.
Even the first one felt like it took a lot of time and effort. Am I correct in assuming that, or was it more akin to let's just test this and put a little bit of time into it?
It's a little more the latter, honestly. So the unique thing about Rec Room, both in terms of just games in general and VR, is that we ship all the time. We have a 2-week ship cadence, so literally every 2 weeks we're shipping something new. And on the small end, that might be some new, quality of life features. And on the large side, that could be a whole new quest or a map for paintball or something, or paintball itself. And so we end up spending not as much time as you'd expect, in part because we have a really talented art team that's able to crank content out really quickly. And we kind of build on a lot of the momentum that we've had from our previous, we call them games mostly, in Rec Room. And so, you can see some of Jumbotron is built on paintball and that kind of a thing. And so, actually, the focus for our company right now is mostly not on Quest. Quest is a pretty small part of the team, but it gets a lot of that art focus. It gets a lot of that art polish. It gets, specific time from, again, our talented artists to make it look really great.
But there's so much more level design in making a continuous game that takes an hour to finish than there is in making the laser tag room, I would assume.
That's true, but you also look at the UGC content that we're working on at the same time. There's a lot of complexity in making a tool to create arbitrary 3D geometry, and we have a visual programming scripting language in there now we call circuits that people can wire together. And so like the levels for Quest is a pretty big beast on its own. And so kind of finding ways to work on both of those things in parallel is what we're wrestling with.
Okay, and so as time has gone by and your quests now, having made 4, they've gotten more complicated. Is that just a reflection of the team size growing in general, or more of an emphasis on those from a development standpoint?
It's more of an emphasis on growing on what we think will work. The team size for Quest hasn't grown at all. I believe that's accurate.
And you are the lead of the Quest team, is that correct?
Programmer, yeah.
Okay.
And so really, because we ship so often, we tend to take a really very iterative approach to the work that we do. And so we very literally think about Jumbotron as building on Golden Trophy, our first quest, and Crimson Cauldron building on Jumbotron, and Isle of Lost Skulls built. So it's a lot of the value that both technical and from a design perspective that we've built up with those previous quests goes quite wholesale into the next one. And so we have a really great, we have shoulders to stand on. And so it basically means that we get to focus our time on new, fun, sort of bespoke content for that quest in a way that leads to new complexity and fun new things like you guys talked about in your video about Pirate Quest.
Right, so tell me about why you decided on the design for the quest to be the way that it is. Basically almost a roguelike, but without the random level design.
Yeah.
Where in permanent death, if your team is all dead, you keep nothing from that journey unless you make it to the end. Why that design instead of something else, for instance?
Okay, well, the origin of Quest is really about bringing friends together and making people into friends. And so Rec Room, first and foremost, is a social place where people hang out with friends they know and friends that they don't know yet. And we really wanted to build one of our games that would very explicitly bring people together. And so through kind of that hardship band of brothers battle that you're going through, you build this relationship with each other in a way that, playing a game of paintball maybe doesn't sort of facilitate. And so we had sort of 2 things we wanted to keep in mind. One, Quest should be better when you're playing with someone with intention. If you're playing together, you're going to do a better job than if you find some random person. But if you find a random person, you're probably going to play with them again.
I don't know. We found a random guy who was better than Kiser.
Well, the kids are really good, actually, so I can't help you there. But maybe you want to play with him together, play with him again. So add him to your friends list, right. And then you can have that kind of relationship start. But so that was the first piece. We want to really encourage specific teams of players to build their squad and play Quest together. And the other one was we really wanted to find a way to make a linear piece of content as replayable as possible. And so when it takes you a lot of time and effort and failure to accomplish success in Quest, it kind of encourages this feeling of like elation when you complete it. That like, oh my god, I finally beat it. We tried so hard. Oh my god, oh my god. And so just the practical fact that it took you, hours to beat it in the first place is hours that you played, what could be a small bit of content. And it also means that players sort of very much respect the loot that they get at the end, and the players who are able to get better at the game. Like it means something in the community. If you know someone is a speedrunner of quests, like you know that they are really good. They put a lot of time into it. If Quest was easier, then it doesn't really mean anything.
I totally get that. But the inverse of that, of course, is the people who don't make it
Totally.
die in frustration. And if they don't reach at the end, then they just feel that loop and it never concludes for them.
Sure.
So I just think that that's an interesting problem to solve.
Yeah.
And deciding with a team of about 20 people or so, where that line is must be a challenge. And I'm wondering, like, how important are your beta processes for discovering that line between letting somebody, that difficulty scale, essentially?
Yeah. Well, as we were talking earlier, we get a lot of feedback, and we listen really intently to that feedback. And so, you're right, it's sort of a balancing act, and so far we've made the decision to err on the difficult side, in large part because that has worked really well for us. I don't know that we'd be having this conversation if it wasn't so hard. Maybe. Who's to say?
That's a very interesting point. You're absolutely right. And we have yet to beat the latest one, the Pirate Quest, which you've limited to 3 people because you didn't feel that it was hard enough with 4. Tell me about that. What did you play it with 4 and you said, this is too easy? What are we doing?
We did play it with 4. It wasn't so much that this was too easy, but more that the amount of engagement each player has is sort of proportional to the number of dynamic pieces that are going on in the scene at the same time. And so if you have more and more players, then you need more and more enemies in order to throw a bottle at your head that you might catch, or to swing a sword at you. And so we really wanted to build out these sort of compact spaces in the bowel of a pirate ship, which was that first mission in Pirate Quest, or Isle of Lost Skulls, was our sort of testbed mission for the AI and the combat in that game. And so it is full of these sort of tight corridors, and when you start to add a 4th player, it kind of gets a little cramped, and worst of all, you kind of get a player who can get left behind. And so I would say that making it more difficult was never actually the direct intention of that. It was a noted and understood side effect, but really it was about giving each player more responsibility over their actions, more responsibility over their death, and really encouraging them to stick together in a way that they wouldn't necessarily have to if there's 4 players. If you can split off in 2 and 2, then you're not necessarily keeping the whole group together. If one person goes down, having 3 left is very different from 2 left, which is very different from 1 left.
And it's all very different from having the number of people that can revive you if you're dead.
Exactly. Exactly.
So looking ahead, you guys have set a high bar with the Pirate Quest in terms of production values, asset-wise alone.
Sure.
So do you feel like you have raised the bar? Are you okay with that, or do you feel like that's a lot to live up to? And is that going to be a hard problem to solve for you guys?
So first of all, thank you. I think that it's a bar that we can operate at. Funny enough, just in terms of our capacity to make content, Pirate Quest was the smoothest, healthiest, happiest project that I have, a quest that I have worked on.
Is that just because you guys have so much experience making these?
I think so, yeah. Again, because that team has been mostly the same over the last couple of years. You learn so much by shipping something, and we have this really great opportunity that we ship things all the time. And so there's something very different about making a piece of content, getting it in front of your colleagues, and then going back and iterating on it, versus making something, getting it in front of people who are not invested in being polite to you, who are consuming this, voraciously, and giving you all kinds of feedback. You learn so much about what works, what doesn't work. And so I think we're getting better at making these quests faster than if we had been, operating at typical game development time cycles.
Well, there's something about the aesthetic that you guys use, like it's a drama department or whatever it is, the geometry is very, intentionally low poly. The textures look like, pieces of cardboard. I feel like it allows you to release or develop quickly.
Yeah.
And that's great from our standpoint because it means we get new content more often. So I'm glad for that, and it allows you, it sounds like you can iterate on the design process as well and learn from the previous quest what people liked and what didn't.
Yeah, that's exactly right, yeah.
So I'd be very happy if there was a return to Jumbotron.
Oh.
I don't know if there ever will be, but consider me interested in 1980s sci-fi.
Okay.
I don't think I'm alone.
Yeah.
But that would be good. Any hints about what we do have in the future?
I literally don't know. No one in the world knows what it will be. But so, pitch me. What would the next Jumbotron do? What would there be in there that we haven't seen already?
Oh my gosh, it's got to be an AI of some kind, and yeah, it's got to. I would imagine it would involve flying in space, but maybe a little something beyond the movie theater projection system you guys did, which was, worth a laugh. It was good. It was good stuff. Yeah, I don't know. I'll let you know what I think. But I'm sure people out there have much better ideas than I do.
Sure. Okay. But so you would say Jumbotron is your favorite quest?
Sci-fi is my favorite genre.
Yeah, okay.
I would say pirate is my favorite quest for the complexity, but I want to see the complexity of pirates put in a sci-fi universe.
Okay. I think we can take that into consideration.
Excellent. Thank you. Appreciate that, Josh. Well, thanks for chatting with us, and have a great rest of the show.
Thank you so much for chatting with me.
Well, we have an update.
We do.
Since you chatted with them
Yep.
at GDC, we have since then completed the Pirate Quest. We are
Victorious.
victorious. Yes.
I gotta take back everything negative I ever said because they're absolutely right. You said as much.
Yeah.
That the difficulty of this quest was what gave the feeling of accomplishment when you actually break through those walls. And breaking through that final wall and winning this quest, I'm going to remember that for the rest of my life.
And they've done 4 of these quests now. It's amazing that while they are building a social VR game, the Rec Room experience, they're, as game developers, as designers of these missions, everyone is better than the next. Not just more elaborate and longer, but the actual mechanics. The actual sword fighting in the Pirate Quest, the gun mechanic, they're so much fun. And I can't wait to see what they come out with next. Hopefully it's a return to Jumbotron.
Well, as you saw, that was my request. I'm a sci-fi nut. I think that could be fun. However, I'd love to know, as would they, what you guys would love to see in terms of a quest. I mean, they are putting a lot of time and effort into these, and they're kind of going beyond my expectations for what to expect in a Rec Room quest. So I don't really know what the best one would be.
Yeah.
But certainly, if I go back to Jumbotron, I'm a happy boy.
All right. Well, that's it for our interviews at GDC. We have a lot more coverage coming up. There's got to be some new hardware coming out in VR soon.
Yep.
Yeah, so maybe we'll see some of that in a future episode. Thanks for watching this time. Like this video, subscribe to our channel, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.